Welcome to Interview Factory. Hi everyone. So this is a real company style business analyst interview simulation. In this video, you will hear actual questions that companies ask business analysts, starting from HR round and then moving to the hiring manager round. I recommend that you watch this video on loop. First time, just listen. Second time, pause and answer yourself. Third time, compare your answer with the expected answer. So let's begin with the HR round. Tell me about yourself. So I'll give 5 seconds for each question. Okay. So tell me about yourself. You can start with I'm a business analyst with experience in requirement gathering and documentation and stakeholder coordination. I work closely with business and technical teams to ensure requirements are clearly understood and delivered. So there are 3 things you have to remember: main responsibility of BA, requirement gathering, documentation, stakeholder coordination, and you work with business stakeholders and the technical team. So you act as a bridge. So these three, 1, 2, 3, these 3 responsibility, and you have to mention you act as a bridge. Okay. So next question. Why do you want to work as a business analyst? Okay. So you can tell something: I enjoy understanding business problems and translating them into clear requirements that help team build the right solution. So here you gather requirement from business. So that means you understand the business problem, document them, right, by converting them into clear requirement and help teams build their right solution, right? So you here in the first answer you said you act as a bridge between stakeholders, which is business, and the technical team, right? So that's what you enjoyed working as a business analyst. So next question, why should we hire you? Okay, you can tell something: I bring strong documentation skills, stakeholder communication, and a structured approach to requirement. Same 3 responsibilities you are repeating, right? What are documentation skills, stakeholder management, and structured approach to gather requirement. Okay. 4th question, what do you understand about the BA role? So if you see the pattern, it's repeating again, same, right? So a BA bridges business and IT gathering requirements, documenting them, supporting the development testing. It's the same responsibility. You just need to switch the way you answer based on the question. Okay. So what domain experience do you have? Having a domain experience is an asset. You will stand out from other candidates. So you can mention something: I have worked on project involving banking and finance, government, enterprise systems, on focusing on process automation and compliance. So the current domain, if you work customer service, if you work finance, so you can mention, even though you didn't work as a business analyst, your domain knowledge is important. You can just mention which domain you have experience. Okay. But if you work on project, just include projects, including project experience. Okay. Question number 6. Let me bring the screen. How do you handle pressure and deadlines? So if you heard a question about anything, handle, okay? So you have to use the word prioritize, okay? So here we are using I prioritize tasks, communicate risk early, and work closely with stakeholder to meet deadlines, right? So all the project in IT projects come like urgent. Everyone need um, immediately, right? So project cannot be made immediately, but you need to analyze which feature is important, which feature need to go first MVP, second MVP. So you have to make a decision which is important for the customer. So you can mention prioritize. You will not involve in product prioritizing, but whatever the task in your plate, so maybe you are working on multiple projects, right? So how do you project A, project B? Every project has a deadline, so you have to deliver user stories, you have to do the planning, you have to do the analyzing the existing flow. So you have a lot of work to do, but you will use ABCD method, which is will be prioritizing based on the deployment date or urgency, customer impact. Okay. So question number 7. Have you worked with difficult stakeholders? Okay. So this is a typical question. So every project we have to work with multiple stakeholders. The one thing I want to say, don't take it personally because everyone is working towards one goal to provide a better user experience so that customer can continue to come to your company, right? So to bring more customer, you have to give a competitive, great experience, right? So all the stakeholders also trying to provide their insight based on their experience. So if you want to make alignment, if multiple stakeholders are not agreeing to the proposed solution, you can ask more question. Simple manner, you can ask more question, try to understand their side also. Maybe their procedure cannot change. So you can explain this can be automated, right? So active listening is a key point here. So you can tell something. Yes, I listen actively, clarify expectation, and ensure alignment through documented requirement. So ask more question, let them speak and find out why they are saying, and meet a common ground, document them, and get a sign up. Okay. Question number 8. How do you handle conflicts in a team? So I focus on facts, requirements, and business goals to resolve conflicts professionally, right? So if there are conflicts, verify, okay? Like what needs to be done and what is the requirement says, what is the business goal, and ask more question, be transparent, and when you document and be transparent, there won't be any conflicts, right? So the next question, what tools have you used as a BA? To work as a BA, the main tool you need Excel and Word. To write softwares, user stories, you need Jira. For documentation, you need Confluence. Okay. Um, so you can add more other tool like Visio Miro, other tools, and you can add SQL for the database, Power BI for data analytics, Tableau. So if you're coming from programming background, Python, Java, so those are not mandatory, it's optional, but based on if you're working technical projects, so that will be useful. You'll understand the concept very easily if you have kind of basic knowledge. But just to start, Excel and Word is more than enough, and learn Jira and Confluence. Okay. So next question, question number 10. What are you comfortable working with developers and testers? Sorry, are you comfortable working with developers and testers? So this is the core theme, right? So you cannot say I'm not comfortable. So yes, I work closely with both teams and clarify requirements and support testing. So if you're first time job, so you might not have experiences working with developers and testers. It's pretty much similar if you work on any capstone project or if you work on group project in your university or college. So they are depend on you. So you have to document the user stories properly, connect with them, ask if they have any questions, if they need any clarification on the user stories, you can explain them. And when testers are validating, connect with them and see if they have any question on the acceptance criteria. So you don't need a special training to work with developers and testers. It's pretty much a group project. Important. You should be there and you have to write clear requirement so that there won't be any questions. Okay. So question number 11. What are your weaknesses? So this is a negative question. So you have to answer the positive way. Okay. So you can say I don't have any weakness. Okay. Impossible. So something earlier I focused on too much details, but I have learned to balance deal detail with timelines, right? So prioritizing tasks. What? How do you keep your skills up to date or updated? So one thing I would say, involve in testing, right? Even though you don't need to test, involve in product design, so that way you can keep your diagramming skills, participate in testing, offer a hand if your tester need um, don't have capacity, take 1 or 2 users to test it. So, and also, of course, learning new tools, spend a few minutes every day to learn the market latest tool. So here you can answer something by learning new tools, studying real-time project, and improving documentation and practices. All right. Okay. So the next question: are you comfortable with agile or waterfall? So you have to say, you cannot say I'm comfortable with writing user story. I don't know how to write BRDs, or I never worked on waterfall project. So if you know STL's software development lifecycle, this is very easy for you. Anyhow, which methodology you work, your job role is going to be helping act like a bridge between the business and developers engineering team, right? So you have to say, yeah, you can be honest. Like I never worked in waterfall methodology. I am familiar with agile, but I am willing to. It work pretty much same, so I can adapt based on the project need, right? Or other way around. So if you are traditional vanilla B and you are switching to agile. So you can say, yes, I worked in waterfall, so I'm good with both the project methodology. Okay. So the next question, what motivates you in this role? Delivering solutions that solve real business problem. So that's why domain is very important. So I would recommend you, it's very hard. Choose a domain which make you happy, like your passion. If you are an entertainment person, there are a lot of BAs are hiring, like movie companies, gaming companies, like Shopify, like song companies. There are so you can, other than your business analysis skills, as you are a customer, right? You are a consumer, so you can combination of your personal experience plus your product knowledge and your business analysis knowledge can deliver a better solution, right? So your job is act like a customer, right? So that's why very important. You should pick a domain which you like. How do you manage multiple tasks? Again, it's go back to the same question, ABCD method, prioritizing. So it's a, you can, so by prioritizing based on impact and deadlines, which we already discussed. What do you expect from this role? So these are very generic. So based on the product and service company you are applying, you can just modify the answer. So growth opportunities and challenging project, right? So you can add more detail, what type of product and service, what type of challenging opportunities you are looking for. So next question, are you willing to learn new domains? Yes, learning a new domain is a key part of BA skill. So if you are worked in a healthcare project and you are switching back to government project, or you are switching back to payroll accounting, or your finance banking, doesn't matter about the product. Yes, it does matter. Your expertise will play more role, but since you worked on project management or software development is the same procedure is same, so the features and functions are going to be different. You can quickly learn, so you can just mention that. Okay, so I'm a quick learner, I can quickly adapt if it is a new domain. So what is your notice period? So as per company policy here in Canada, it's 2 weeks. So you have to mention, some people say quickly, like immediately, but if you are currently working, so at least you have to give 2 week notice for your current employer. That's the answer they are looking for. So based on your circumstances, you can provide that answer. Okay. So last question, do you have any questions for us? Yeah, so do not talk about salary. So maybe same students are asking growth opportunities, like within 1 year where I would be, or 5 years, 3 years, those kind of are okay. So maybe something general. I would like to know about the team structure and projects, right? All right. So those are our HR round 20 questions. Now let's go through our hiring manager questions. Okay. So what is a BRB? First question. BRD is a business requirement document that captures business need and scope and objectives. All right. So the next question is, what are the key sections of a BRD? Project overview, scope, stakeholders, current state, future state, risk and approvals. Okay, so there are templates, but in the high level, these 7 are very important. Okay, so next question is, who prepares the BRD? Let me start the timer. So usually business analysts prepare, but sometimes we can ask, preparing BRD is a business analyst responsibility, but you can get product knowledge, the current state, future state from different stakeholders, but finally you can document. Okay. So the next question is, what is the difference between BRD and FRD? BRD focus on business needs, these items. FRD focus on functional and system behaviors. Alright. How do you gather requirements? It means like they're asking the techniques. So through stakeholder meeting, workshop, document analysis and observation, studying the current state. So maybe you can work with the team. So if you are building something for a customer care team, you can sit with them and you can learn. If you're building something for a back office team, you can work with them 1 hour, 2 hour and observe. So shadowing sessions, that's why observation. Okay, that's very effective. You can watch and document and you can create process mapping. All right. So the next question, what is scope creep? Almost all interview, this question is asked. So you have to prepare for this one. So uncontrolled changes to project scope without approval. So make sure you cannot make assumption. Okay, I thought business need this one. So that's why you have to be very transparent, document your requirement, Word, Excel or conference, send it a copy to your stakeholders and get approval, create diagrams so that everyone understands. So if you are so technical, they don't understand what you are explaining, diagrams help. So, but your job is to make sure everyone understood and get aligned on what you are building. So that way you can avoid future work. All right, and ask more questions. If you understand the end-to-end, there won't be any future work. All right. So how do you handle scope creep? By documenting changes and gathering. So I already covered this one, so it's applicable to both. Okay, so here the question is, what is a scope creep and how do you handle? Okay, so there are same question. Okay, so what is the data flow diagram? So data flow diagram, they help visualize system interactions and data movement, right? So diagramming is very important. First, create a current versus future state, document them, and plot into diagram to help the team understand visually what we are building. Okay, what are DFTs? Why DFTs are important? So data flow diagram they are talking about, why it's important. They help visualize system interaction and data movement. Okay. So next question, explain current state versus the future state. Current state shows existing process, future state shows proposed improvement, new solution. Okay. What is CPMS? So these are product specific. Capital program management system used to manage infrastructure project. Okay. What is your role in CPMS? Requirement gathering, documentation, and stakeholder coordination. Okay. Next question, how do you estimate project effort? By analyzing the requirements and estimating resource and timeline. So you can create all the epics, you can do a story mapping, and you can plot into different MEPs, minimum viable product, based on the deployment date. That way it's easy to afford how many devs, how many TQA resource required, and how many shared resource required. You can kind of get estimation how long to how many sprints you need to complete this project. Okay, what is LOE? Level of effort required to complete the project. Okay, how many sprints required? What risk do you identify as a BA? Scope, resource, timeline, and dependency risk. Okay. So the next question, what is stakeholder management? This is very important. All the resumes, all the BA interviews, this question is asked. Okay. Identifying and managing stakeholder expectation. Again, I said, have you worked with angry stakeholders, right? So again, my recommendation, do not take personally everyone working towards the same goal. Listening here is the key, okay? And communication and transparent, okay? Difference between BA and PO. BA focus on requirements, PO focus on backlog prioritization. What is agile? Iterative development approach with frequent feedback. 10 business days a sprint, 3 weeks sometime a sprint. Okay, Next question, what is waterfall? A sequential development approach. Sorry. What documents are used in Agile? User stories and acceptance criteria. So the next question, what is a user story? A requirement written from end user perspective, as I want, so that. As a user, I want, what you need, what feature, and what's the benefit. Okay. What is acceptance criteria? We can call as definition of done. So how to validate? How do you make sure the feature we introduce? Condition to validate requirements completion. Okay, definition of done. Question number 25. How do you support testing? By clarifying requirements and validating test cases. What is UAT, user acceptance testing? Testing by business users. So in SDLC, first you gather requirement, document them, write user story, go to development phase and testing phase. Once our team validate, we queue to stakeholders who actual end users to validate how is this expected behavior, right? So that's we call as user acceptance testing, okay, by the business users. What is impact analysis? Analyzing effect of changes on systems and business. Question number, I guess, 28. What is cost benefit analysis? Comparing cost of solution with expected benefits. Who approves funding? This sometimes you don't need to involve in this one, so but you have to know this one. Leadership and management. How do you ensure requirement quality? By reviews, walkthroughs, and validation. So after development done, you can set up a demo with business users and get the feedback after you provide your walkthrough. What is traceability? Tracking requirements from start to delivery. You can use a Confluence page, you can use Word Excel to trace, or you can use tools also. Okay. What is RTM? RTM is requirement traceability metrics. Okay. So how do you work with developers? So you don't need to code here. So just the coordination it's asking. Okay. By clarifying requirements and answering questions. So if your user story is not clear, ambiguity, so you have to help answering the question, update your user story. Okay. So next question, how do you handle unclear requirements? We already talked about this one. By discussing with stakeholders, right? What is compliance risk? Risk of not meeting regulatory requirements. What happens if deadlines are missed? Penalties or business impacts? How do you manage dependencies? So you might have a dependency with the database team or other connectivity team, right? How do you manage? By identify them early and coordination in teams. You can even call it out in your user story, or you can create a task for the coordination. And you can mention in your user story, this is the dependency or prerequisite to complete this one. What is version control in BRD? This is very important, tracking document changes, right? V1, V2, or dated, right? What makes a good BA? Strong communication and analytical skills. Last question, why documentation is important? It ensures clarity, alignment, and successful delivery. All right. Thanks, everyone. I'll see you in next interview series. Thank you.